Phyllis. Welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're going to be making some homemade vegetable soup. And that's just one of my very favorite comfort foods. My mom used to make homemade vegetable soup. My mother-in-law still makes it. And my mom always served hers with cornbread. So if you want to learn how to make cornbread to go with your vegetable soup, go find my crispy southern cornbread video and you can make some to go with your vegetable soup. But to get it started, I have my biggest pan heating on the stove. This is a Le Creuset. And I am going to add about a little over a pound of ground beef. This is 93% lean. And I'm just going to drop it in right there. Hear that sizzle? And then I've already chopped up my onions to save a little bit of time. And I'm just going to dump these onions in. And we're going to let the ground beef brown. And the onions saute, cook down a little bit, and the juice from the onions, since I'm using 93% lean ground beef, the juice from the onions will keep the ground beef from sticking, because I like to make everything as healthy as possible, but tasty and good. So here we are, just kind of want to break up this ground beef in this pan, and going to add a little bit of salt to it because you have to season stuff, and so I just give a little sprinkle of salt here over the ground beef and a little bit over the onions. It helps the onions to release their juices, and that was, by the way, one large onion that I put in there. And so while the ground beef is sauteing and cooking, I am going to chop my other vegetables. Now if I were making, if I were using a fattier ground beef, I would probably stop and get some of the fat out of the pan if it cooks out a lot of fat, but this one is not going to cook out a lot of fat. So let's move on over here to my cutting board, and we'll be working on chopping our other vegetables. I already prepped just a little bit, and I cut up some potatoes and carrots because these are the fresh vegetables we like to put in there: onions, potatoes, and carrots. Maybe that's like a southern holy trinity. And so I'm using little baby carrots because that's just what I had, but these really are the biggest baby carrots I've ever seen, so I had to like cut them in half and then dice them up. And that's probably at least a cup of baby carrots in there, or regular carrots, whatever you have. And then I have peeled 4 potatoes and have them ready. I've already cut up the other ones, but I'm using an all-purpose potato, or you could use a Yukon Gold. The Yukon Gold doesn't fall apart at all, but the all-purpose potato, to me, it seems to absorb the flavor of the broth and all in the pot. So I like to use an all-purpose potato. And remember, when you're cutting these vegetables up and putting them in the pot, you want them to be the size that you want to eat, what you want on your spoon. So if on your spoon you like a whole big chunk of potato, you can cut them big. If you want your potatoes to be nice little small potatoes so you can put other vegetables on the spoon, you can cut them small. I kind of cut mine, I guess they're probably kind of small, and I use my good old Santoku knife, which is my very favorite knife, and just keep working on dicing all these up. Now if I really had to dice all the potatoes up, it would take me a little bit longer. But anyway, now I have all my vegetables ready, all the fresh vegetables. If this were summertime, I'd be using maybe whatever I could find that was fresh and putting in here. But this is January and it's cold outside. This is the one day in Fayetteville, North Carolina, when we're having our ice storm for the day. And hopefully it won't last very long, but it's cold, cold, cold outside today. So my ground beef is browning. I had turned my burner down a little bit. Shouldn't have done that, but I did it. So we'll have to. It'll take a few minutes for this ground beef to brown, and then we'll be back. Okay, we're back, and I've got my ground beef pretty much brown. That didn't take long. And I got these vegetables here, and we're just going to add these right on in here. See how I didn't quite let the ground beef like brown to where it was getting a crust on it or anything, but you just want it to pretty much lose its pink color. You'll see a few pieces in there that might still have it, but I've got potatoes and carrots and onion and ground beef in here now, and I'm going to add a little bit more salt because you want to season it by layer. And there we go. And so just kind of mix it around, and we're going to let these potatoes cook in here just a few minutes, potatoes and the carrots. And then we will add some tomatoes and stuff. And I put in the vegetables that my family likes, and we like diced tomatoes. I use petite diced tomatoes, and it doesn't matter what brand you use, Hunt's, Del Monte, but I have 2 cans of Del Monte and 1 of Hunt's today, so they both work good. But we're going to put these in with the juice. If you were doing this in the summer and you had your fresh tomatoes, by all means use fresh tomatoes. And then my family likes lima beans, okra, and corn. And I've got a pound of each kind of vegetable, and what I do is I kind of just look at my pot and determine which one, how much I think I need in there, but probably about a pound of each one. And I just buy the frozen vegetables at the grocery store. Nothing special about that. You can use store brand or you can use a premium brand, but they're all going to cook in here together, so that's what you want to do. And I'm going to add, while I'm at this stage, going to take and put some pepper in here. Now, I have this Turkish coffee grinder, actually is what this is, but it's my pepper grinder. And my husband loves something that showers pepper, so anyway, we're going to put some pepper in here. And then and let that cook a little bit and give it a little stir. And we'll be back in just a minute and we'll add in the tomatoes. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes now that my carrots and potatoes have been simmering or kind of cooking in here. That kind of gives them a head start because they take longer to cook than anything else. And then I'm just going to dump the whole can of tomatoes in. That's 1 can. And then I'm going to dump a second can, juice and all, and kind of give it a little stir around. Let's see, how are we doing? And then when I look at these cans, I see there's tomato stuff left in there, so I like to just put a little bit of water in here and give them a little quick rinse. It's not a lot, but I don't like to waste anything. So let's rinse out the second can. Just rinse them out with the same water. There you go. Now these cans are ready for recycling. They've already been rinsed out, and they're ready to recycle. And I rinse them right into my very own pot. Now I'm going to add my frozen vegetables, and got this. It's a pound of beans here, baby lima beans. Pound package of okra, which this just says cut okra on the package. If you want to get whole pods, you would need to cut it up because whole pods are a lot bigger and they're a little harder to eat, so you need to cut them up. And then I have some whole kernel sweet corn, and that's a pound. And so I'm just going to dump that in. And then I got a little bit of broth right here I'm going to add. You could add water if you don't have any broth. It doesn't hurt one thing. But I had some in the freezer. And so put a little bit of that in there. I'm going to put in a bay leaf. And as you can tell, I use a lot of bay leaves because I have the super size of bay leaves, and actually I'm going to put 2 in because I've got a big pot here. And Then it'll take a few minutes for these vegetables to break the block. And when the block breaks on the vegetables, the ice melts and all. You can tell if you need to add another can of tomatoes. Sometimes it takes an extra can of tomatoes, sometimes it just takes more broth. So what I'm going to do is just put the lid on, and we will be back in probably about 5 minutes. That'll give long enough for the vegetables to break up, and then I can see if I need what I need to add. So hold on just a minute and we'll be right back. Okay, we're back again. It's been about 5 minutes, and so let's lift the lid off. And see how the corn is so pretty and bright, and the okra is just breaking right up now. The butter beans aren't quite ready, or the lima beans, but let me flip that over so it can get down in the liquid. But I can see I do not have enough liquid in here, so I'm going to add another can of tomatoes, and just add another can of diced tomatoes with their juice in there. And I like the petite diced tomatoes. They seem to be chopped up just right. And anyway, you don't have big chunks of tomato or big stringy pieces of tomato. And so I usually buy petite diced tomatoes. And so see, we're just about got all our vegetables covered in liquid. They're just about all down in the bathtub. And we're going to add just a little more stock in here. And this is some beef stock that I had bought, store-bought stock. Sometimes in my freezer I have some homemade chicken stock and I use it, but today I had beef stock. But actually, you can use either one. They're both great with the hamburger or ground beef in here. And see, we're just getting a beautiful calico look to our vegetable soup. And just give it a little stir. And I'm going to taste the broth. See if I need to add more salt since I've put all those vegetables in and the extra tomatoes. And I think I do need a little bit more salt, but not a lot. So just give it another good sprinkle here. And we are going to put the lid back on. And we're going to let this simmer a little while longer. And just let it sit here and cook. And it'll be vegetable soup in just a little while. You know, every once in a while you'll want to just lift the lid and look in. Probably every 10 minutes or so, and look in, just make sure you still got plenty of liquid, that nothing's sticking on the bottom. But I have my burner turned on kind of a medium flame right now. If it gets to where it looks like it's boiling, because this lid fits really tight on my pan, and if it gets to where it looks like it's boiling, I'll turn it down even more to just a simmer. But just keep an eye on it, and it takes probably about a good hour for it to sit here, but it already smells good. So we'll be back soon to taste it, and we may even have some cornbread. Well, it's been about an hour. My pot's been simmering on the stove, and I kept checking it every little bit. I did have to add a little bit more. I had just a smidge of broth left in that carton, and then I added probably about a half cup of water in here. And so let's take the lid off. And see there, it's just simmering and bubbling. Yum, yum, yum. It is all cooked down. I'm going to go ahead and turn my burner off. And then you can just stir it around and look at all those wonderful vegetables. And I know some of you are probably going, yuck, okra. But when the okra is in the pot like this, it is not slimy okra. It's just okra. So I'm going to get a little bit and put it in my bowl here so I can have a taste. I can taste it for salt and see if it needs anything else. But you know what? If I eat that right in this very second, it will burn my tongue. So let me just stir it around just a little bit. And let's see. You'll love that. It's very simple to make. Just remember, start with a whole onion you diced up and almost a pound of somewhere around a pound of ground beef. I used the 93% lean. Then we added in a cup of diced carrots, 4 potatoes, then a pound of green lima beans or green butter beans, a pound of corn, and a pound of okra, just right out of the frozen bags. We put in 3 cans of diced tomatoes, which we rinse those little cans out with just a little bit of water. And then we put in some broth, and probably used a cup or a cup and a half of broth in here. A little salt and pepper and some bay leaves. And you got a pot of vegetable soup. And I hope you'll enjoy yours as much as we're going to enjoy ours.